Hello friends and welcome. I'm Sarah Liz and today we are going to make a hummingbird shape card using the Hummingbird card creator from Spellbinders. I love this. It's just so pretty. It has one large hummingbird die that would fit in a 5x7 envelope. And then there are a handful of pieces that cut out the other parts of the actual bird. And then there's a bunch of blooms, tiny little blooms and stems and things like that. That you can cut out in a variety of ways. Anytime I am cutting blooms, I cut things that would come from the same color together, and I just tape them together on the back with a double layer of micro pour tape, and then I'm ready to go. It's a couple quick passes and I'm done, and I'm not trying to line everything up and tape it down over and over again. So I took my large die and I am tracing around the outside lightly using a pencil. I'm going to do some ink blending and I wanted to do it before I cut it out. And so this lets me know where to put my shading, and I can line the die back up right inside those pencil lines. I'm starting with Aquamarine. That's one of the crisp dye inks from Altenew because this was like the 5th card I made this day, and I am not delicate. Like, I know me, and when it comes to ink blending, something is going to get a heavier hand than something else. But the Altenew inks smooth out beautifully. I don't know what it is. It is some kind of like magic, witchcraft. I don't know. But this is my go-to when I'm unsure, or when it is maybe the 3rd time I've ink blended this background. So I am just going around the edges of the wings and the tail and adding a little bit darker color just for a little added interest. This is a large hummingbird and I wanted to just keep it from looking too flat. Then this is its belly. There are 2 pieces for the belly. You could use just one. And so this is a slightly darker blue cardstock, but I'm adding the same ink just to the edges, and you can kind of see where it lines up there. And then this little purple piece can layer on top of that. So I'm using Wisteria ink from Altenew. This is a really light purple. I maybe could have gone just a shade darker, but I was really afraid that I was going to have to re-ink blend something yet again. So then there are a couple pieces that go up towards the head. So that blue piece comes down the neck, and then this is just the crest of the head. And it's so small. I held it down with my pokey tool. I don't even know if people can tell that that's ink blended, but I can tell. So I'm lining up my hummingbird with the pencil lines that I drew on there earlier, and I will tape that down so it doesn't move. And you can see it etches these deep grooves into the wings. I love it. But I found when I was ink blending after I die cut, it was pooling too much in those impressions. When you start assembling the face, start with the crest, that purple piece that I just laid down, because the other pieces don't fit as tightly as you might think in some places. So I have cut then the beak from this gold mirror cardstock, and there's a little triangle that kind of wedges into the crest. And then here's the neck, and it will line up along the slope of the neck, and there's a triangle of the beak that wedges into it. But you see right where that eye is going to go, there's a little open space. I learned this the hard way. I put the neck down first. Don't do that. Okay, so crest first. And then that is the top of our hummingbird. Then I'm going to layer these 2 belly pieces before I put them on the card. It was just easier for me to line everything up and kind of see where my edges were and to wiggle. I got a better grip on it that way. There is an etched line on the bird itself showing you where the belly goes, and that is really, really helpful. So here I actually cut out all of the stems, but I'm not using all of them. I'm only using 2, and these 2 go in separate directions, and we're going to add a little bit of interest on the wings. I just thought, why not make this bird really majestic? Why not do something a little extra? So I have added some little tiny flowers onto the wings, and then there are some even smaller ones, and I've cut everything out, actually of 4 colors, and I'm not even sure we're going to use all 4. So I am clipping off the greenery right where it's meeting the belly. I wanted it to look like it's sprouting sort of effervescently out of the middle of the bird. And so I'll add my glue and I will try to just line those up right on the edge. And you can see they fit so beautifully into the wings. Please click on the link for either the Hummingbird collection or the Hummingbird card creator below. People have done some really incredible things with the layering of the florals on this. I mean, it's beautiful. It is absolutely stunning. You should totally check it out. And then I am adding a few randomly scattered flowers as well. I was worried at first that these weren't connected to stems, and I was like, you know what? Nope. This is like a Disney movie. We can have flowers just like flying and floating out there. I thought it was really pretty. So I'm going to quickly just kind of nudge those over and add my dots, and then I will pick them all up kind of at the same time, just with my little wax tip of my jewel picker here. And then I have cut the centers out using that same gold mirror cardstock. You could use gems here. You could have just used cardstock or something like the Pops of Color from scrapbook.com. Any of that would look really, really beautiful here. There is a single die that cuts up the middles. I needed to cut it out twice. So you'll see here I have a whole bunch in my tray. I just use a paint palette, a plastic paint palette. I have 4 of them that rotate through varying degrees of fullness floating around my desk. And that keeps track of all my pieces, and I can sort them by color, and it's not taking up a ton of room. And a lot of times I can pull them straight out of the tray. So here I'm just pulling them straight off of my cutting plate from my die cut machine, and it went pretty quickly. So that is the front of our card. You could try to put that onto the front of a 5x7, but it doesn't quite fit. It really is designed to be a shape card. So I have taken some 100-pound cardstock and folded it in half to be a 5x7. And then I'm going to edge those left wing pieces and then the leftmost edge of the tail feathers, so it's hanging off the edge of the card. And I'm going to cut off the extra around it because that's now wider than 6 inches and doesn't fit through my die cut machine. I ran this through my Gemini Junior, but honestly, if you have a hand crank machine, like if you have a Platinum 6, that would work even better. My Gemini has so much pressure that sometimes when I do something like trying to cut 2 layers of 100-pound cardstock, it warps my plates really badly. So I made another one after this and used my Spellbinders, and it worked so much more smoothly. And then the back of my card was much cleaner. My plates are pretty old, and so I often will also stick like just a piece of scratch printer paper in there to keep what's on my plates from ending up on the back of my card. So you can see that created a hinge then on the left, and I've got a card that opens and closes. I really wanted to shellac this to the front of my card, to my bird. And I am using my Beacon 3-in-1 because it's a solvent-based glue, so it doesn't add any water to the paper. It doesn't create any wetness or warping, and it gives me good wiggle room. On the very left, it doesn't quite line up. It's going to overhang, but the rest of it I can wiggle beautifully into place. This is the coordinating stamp set that is called Hummingbird Sentiments, and I've chosen a stamp that says, "Hope your day is wonderful." And I am lining this up inside my Misti. I really wish I had stamped this before I glued the front of the hummingbird to the card. It would have been a little easier and less scary. But you know me, if we don't get to the point in the card where I am like holding my breath and crossing my fingers and my eyes, then it's not my card. So I stamped it a couple of times in just some light gray ink, and that will finish our card for today. I just love how beautiful this is. It's a lot of impact for not that much work. Here I'm holding it against a 5x7 card base, and you can see it's really a little too big for that. It's meant to stand on its own. I hope you like this card. If you do, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and I will see you next time.